In this lesson, we're going to finish up the barrel. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started by finishing up the barrel here. Let's go ahead and turn on Editable Poly. And I don't want to show the end result just yet. Let's go ahead and isolate that. So I'm going to start adding in some loops, but before I do that, we have one detail here on the back side that we need to add. If we take a look at the reference image right here, you can see that there's this little piece that kind of extrudes out a little bit, and I want to make sure that we get that in there. So to do this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take these polygons right here, and I'm going to extrude those out. And so let's go ahead and just use extrude, and I'm going to hit OK on that, and then I'm just going to push it back in. So something right around in here. It doesn't need to come out very far. Then I'm going to take the top and bottom edges, and I'm going to push those in, just kind of round it out a little bit. And then I'm going to take this polygon right here and just pull that straight out. Okay. And then that should be everything that we need. I'm going to take this, these two vertices, and I'm going to pull those out as well. So something kind of like that. Let's try to get this set of edges right here as straight as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and just line those up in the Z direction. Same thing with these. So make planar in the Z, and there we go. Okay, so now that we have that, let's go ahead and start adding in our edge loops to retain our volume that we'll need. So let's start right here at the back. Let's go ahead and select this edge, and I'm going to hit ring, and I'm going to use connect. And I'm going to make sure I use two segments, and I'm going to adjust my pinch up, and I'm going to get pretty close to those edges there, and we'll hit OK. Let's do the same thing here. Let's hold down Shift this time and select that next edge. It's the same thing as selecting ring up here. Let's connect that. Let's draw down that pinch value down to about 50 or so and hit OK. Same thing here. Select those and connect. And then I want to add one segment right here toward the end. I'm going to use Swift Loop to do that. So one right up here toward the end right there. Good. All right, now let's move on to the next part. We need to add a loop right here, so that way that retains its volume, and then we need one on each side of this loop. So going to get pretty close to that, and that's going to create that crease whenever it comes down to the flare. All right, so that looks good. Let's come in and let's add in a segment right here, and also on this side. I'm going to take both of those edges and I'm going to make planar in the Z direction, just to make them straight, and I'm going to move them toward one another. So I'm going to move that right here. Let's double click on this one. Let's make planar in the Z, and I just want to make sure that I'm not overlapping any geometry on the back side here. So this is going to be good. Now I know that this is going to be a little too pointed whenever we smooth that out. Just to show you that, you can see that it's got a little bit of a point to it. So I'm going to pull that back and just kind of relax that, make that a little more round. Okay, perfect. So now that we've got those loops in there, we can just kind of take a look at what we've got so far, and everything is looking pretty good. We've even got that geometry there for the spindle for the cylinder to actually kind of fall into a little bit. Now, we may want to adjust its overall position there. It seems to be a little bit too high for where the spindle is actually going to fall in there. So let's go ahead and just kind of drop that down a little bit. Okay, so we'll select that entire thing. Make sure we get all those polygons there, and make sure you get the ones on top too. And then one more. Okay, let's draw that down just a little bit. Okay, that looks good. Oops, let's get these two. Got a feeling that would create a little bit of a problem for us later on. Okay, good. All right, so now, well, let's see. I don't like that either, because if I draw that down, that entire side, I'll deal with that here in just a little bit. We may actually just take this up some. Okay, I think if whenever we cut across that, it'll actually line itself out. So, all right. So now let's deal with the sight at the top. To get started on this, let's go ahead and add in just some simple segments. Let me turn off that show end result. And let's create a loop. First off, let me actually get rid of this loop right here, because that's going to create too much of a crease down here toward the end of the barrel. It's not going to flow into that barrel very well. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's go to Edit, Swift Loop. I'm going to add one right here, and then also one here. There we go. And let's take those edges that we created across the top, and let's actually scale them toward one another. So hold Control, go to Vertex Mode, and then make sure that Edge Constraint is turned on, and grab your Scale tool and scale that in the Y. Go ahead and make sure that that's about centered, and then grab your Move tool and just pull that up a little bit. Now you need to make sure that you pull it up without the constraints turned on, so that way we get this nice rounded look here. All right, great. So now with that, if we go ahead and show end result, you can see that that has kind of sharpened up those corners there. Let's do a loop right here across the top of that, so that way we get a nice crease all the way around the top of that there. All right, now let's go ahead and go to Edge Mode. Let's select this edge and hold Shift and select the next one, so it selects all the way around for that ring. And let's do Connect, and we're going to do 2 segments. We'll leave it at a pinch of 52 and hit OK. So that creates a nice little crease around the base of that. All right, now we need to harden up the top of that sight. To do this, we're going to go ahead and go to Polygon Mode, and I'm going to select all these polygons here. And let's not forget about these tiny polygons at the very bottom. You know what? Let's see. No, let's not do those. Those aren't part of that. So just those, and then we'll do this. We're going to go ahead and inset that. Let's inset it at like a 0.05 value, so that way we get this nice little crease across the top edge there. All right, great. I do want to thin that up a little bit though. Let's go to Polygon Mode, and let me turn off that Show End Result. Let me just select the polygons in the sight across the top of that, and make sure we grab those. And let's grow that one time, and then I'm just going to grab my Scale tool and scale that in. Okay, make that thin, just like so. And we're looking good. I am going to go ahead and take all of those except for what's in the sight. And let me try that one more time. Let's take all of those. Hold down Alt and deselect what's in the sight itself. And let's just scale that in. Actually, we're going to have to take everything with the sight, because it's going to change the base of that anyway. Then I'll do the sight, and I'll pull that back out just a little bit. Sometimes, as you can see, once you start adding edge loops, if you don't have that sized correctly, that can create a little bit more work for you. So make sure that you have all the proportions that you want set whenever you're ready to go. Okay, let's grow that one time, and then we'll push that back out a little bit. Okay, now we're looking good. Let's go ahead and take a look at our final result on that. Pretty happy with the way that looks so far. A couple of other loops that we'll need to add to this right on the end of the barrel. That's going to need to be 1. So let's go ahead and go to Edge Mode, select the edge on the very end, and use Ring and Connect. Okay, we're going to do 2 loops. Around 52 is fine. We have that there, and then we need to take this vertex here along the bottom, and I'm going to pull that out. And then I'm going to take these 2 and I'm going to push those out. So it kind of relaxes this area here. And then take that one right there and pull that out kind of about midway. So now it creates this really nice gradual change in flow for that metal. Now I do want to add an edge right here. Okay, and so let's go ahead and do an Edit Swift Loop. Add an edge right here. Okay, and that's going to harden up that corner. Now it did harden up right up here. Okay, and that changed the way that barrel looks as if it flows in there. So let's take those two edges right across the top and let's spread that away from that so that way we get that nice little curve again. Okay, take that vertex and this one and we can just kind of pull that away a little bit so that way it's not creating that crease all the way up. Alright, great. So now that we've got that all set, we need to do just a couple more loops just to kind of harden up some of these areas. So let's do one right across the bottom. There we go. One right here. And then we need one here and one there. Alright, and then let's do one right on the inside. So let's go to Edge Mode, select that edge. Okay, go ahead and turn off Show End Results so you can see which one I'm grabbing here. And let's hit Ring. And that's going to select all the way up through there. I don't want to do that. Let's see. Let's do... let's go ahead and just leave it the way it is for right now. I think that, yeah, it's going to be okay on the hardness of that. I think that's okay. Alright, great. So now we have this area and we created a loop, but you'll notice here that it created a crease right across the backside. And I don't want that here. It's this loop right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and right click and target weld from here down. And then I need to go across the top of that. And let's go to right here. Now it does create a triangle, that's perfectly fine. Double click on this edge and you'll see that it goes all the way around, and I just want to hit Control Backspace. Now if I go ahead and show end result, you'll see that it's nice and smooth again. We don't have to worry about that. Alright, great. So that is the barrel. We've got that all ready to go. Ready to take a look at that with the rest of it. So let's go ahead and change its color. Going to change that over to black and then apply its material. And there we go. So that's what it looks like with the rest of the gun. Looking pretty good. Happy with that. There's a little bit of a space in here, and that's for the swivel piece that's going to come up into that. So before we get started with that, what we're going to do next is we're going to start working on the actual cylinder of the gun. So I'll see you then.